Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are thrilled to be talking to the creators responsible for the Apple Plus docu-series, Underrated. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members who are on the call today, starting with Chris Stiles in Cincinnati, in Ohio, in Cleveland, Philippe Patterson in Washington, D.C., Nancy in Los Angeles, Harrison Martin in North Carolina, Jill Monroe in Los Angeles, Ruben Rigaud in Miami Beach, Florida. Let's see, and who else is with us today? And I think that's it. So I'm gonna let you guys do what you do so well, and we will see you on the other side.
All right, Steph, ready?
Stephen Curry. Do not rely on him to run your team.
He was about 5'6".
Looks like a little kid.
150 pounds, soaking wet. That was when I first really understood I'm different. How did I get here? I was the undersized, scrawny kid that was just trying to figure out how to make it.
Steph Curry is hurt.
I was overwhelmed by everything. How would I respond? Let the work begin.
When you are an underdog, you have to take what is yours.
Get buckets!
Take them from college to the Sweet 16.
It's not about proving other people wrong. It's about proving himself right.
And that feeling of being underrated will always be part of the drive that keeps me going.
Stephen Curry, Underrated, only on Apple TV+.
Thank you for this piece of work. As a basketball player and aficionado, I mean, I just love these stories that dig behind the players. I'd like to ask this of all you guys, but I'm gonna be respectful of my team members and just ask Eric and Tiffany this question, is that there's the obvious message about being overlooked and that type of thing. What's the message inside of this piece that you think maybe people might not get that you'd like for people to get out of this piece? And Tiffany, if you could start first, that'd be great.
Sure. I think that it's a great coming of age story it's really important for the youth right now as they're on their journeys to really recognize the work that Stephen put in to be the player that he is today. And also, knowing that, it does take hard work, but you may have, the naysayers or the people who don't believe in you, but, continuing on your journey, working hard, believing in yourself, that you can, achieve great things. And maybe that may not always be being Stephen Curry, but being the great player or person within yourself.
Tiffany kind of nailed it. I think it's really about inspiring through hard work, through dedication, through just being authentic to yourself, and also opening yourself up for feedback, for people to be able to amplify your skills, and also dealing with failure. As you guys have seen the film, and there's a lot of times where Stephen could have just really given up. And I think like him just, continuing to work at his craft, continuing to grind, continue to be himself and prove himself right, which he says in the film. That's really one of the major messages of this film.
Thank you very much.
Hi, KB here with Through the Lens of Lady KB. And my question is actually for Pete. What is something that surprised you about Stephen Curry that you learned through the process of directing this documentary?
Hey, KB, thanks so much for having us. We're happy to talk about the project. For me, it was a little bit of a different approach. A lot of my work is centered around looking at systems and looking at sort of communities. I've done a trilogy kind of set in Oakland, which itself, the city of Oakland has a lot of sort of thematic relationship to Steph, and this idea of being misunderstood, stereotyped, and Stephen kind of represents that. But I don't think people have a full appreciation for how difficult it is to rise out of the shadow of a parent, a couple of very accomplished parents, and a father, Del Curry, who in his own right was a extraordinarily talented NBA player. There's a lot of young sons and daughters of professional athletes who really struggle to come out of the shadows of that. And I think that's a piece of the story of Steph that a lot of people didn't fully kind of grasp, and that psychological process of moving past doubt that is coming in externally, and then the power of family and mentorship and community to help lift you up beyond that doubt is a very powerful theme in a lot of my work that I've done in Oakland, and I saw it present in him as just one individual.
Well, thank you. What a beautiful and complex documentary it really was. Very intriguing to watch. So thank you so much for taking time to chat with us.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Chris Styles out of Cleveland, WOVU 95.9 FM. This question is for Ryan. Ryan, how parallel is your career as being underrated when you first coming out with Foodville and releasing this documentary because you're from Oakland? Your first coming out is about the Oakland, about the Warriors and everything. How parallel is that from your career and that movie and everything that you went into it?
Thanks for the question and thanks for having us. I mean, I loved working on this film. And it was a film that I was in a producing role, helping to support Pete and achieving his vision for the project and helping to co-produce with the great folks over at Unanimous. And I think that we felt a big responsibility, like to make sure that Steph's story was told in a way that really captured who he was and as a player and as a man and also like what he meant to us here in the Bay Area, which is a lot. You can't go 5 blocks without seeing a mural of him painted out here. That's kind of, it kind of speaks to how we see ourselves as people who are here in the East Bay. Oftentimes we kind of like underrated even in our own community. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. And he was such a big part of giving us something to be proud of and giving us a reason to hold our heads up for so long. I think with my own career, there's definitely things that I can see and attach myself to when watching the film, and I think that goes for anybody. I think that Steph is maybe the most relatable superstar that we've had in my lifetime. He's not like extraordinarily tall. He's not extraordinarily big. You know what I'm saying? Like he is a big guy for like normal standards, but the way he plays, you know what I mean? None of it feels like as unapproachable as it really is, And I think that Pete did a great job of making him relatable to everybody, finding those common through lines. But yeah, there's definitely been times where I felt, people didn't see, the upside of a project that I was working on, or the upside of my own capabilities, and I think that goes not just for me, but for anybody. I think that's part of what makes the film play for all audiences,
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique. And my question is for all of you. I wanted to know if you could speak briefly about what it is that interested you in doing this documentary, specifically about Steph Curry, especially since he's legendary, but he is rather young. And so I'm kind of curious as to why you chose to do this about him and what draws you to him and to this documentary.
I can take that one first. Yeah, so Steph is my partner over at Unanimous, as well as Tiffany, right? And I think when we always sit down and we talk about stories and we think about our slate of content and we think about how we can inspire. And I think that's one of the main goals of Unanimous is, right, inspiring through media. So for this particular story, we were in a development meeting and we were going over the slate and we started talking about the Elite Eight run. And, it was really Stephen that kind of like leaned back and thought about how long it's been since he's been around these players. And and really the story we can kind of mine from that. Then he told us he was trying to graduate that next year. And then it has momentum, right? When a story starts to create layers on top of layers, you start to see the momentum, and it kind of takes its own life. Then that next call was to Ryan, because as producers, we try not to have fingerprints on the creative, right? And so I feel like one of our jobs are just to kind of like plant the seed and then pass it to amazing creative. So our next call was to Ryan, and so I'll sort of let him sort of finish the journey of the why behind the film. But that's from the unanimous team. Tiffany, unless I missed anything, that was sort of our perspective.
Oh, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
No, go ahead, bro.
No, I was gonna say, then we passed it to Ryan, and then Ryan, I mean, you can speak to how you responded to it.
Yeah, I got the call from Eric. I think I was here actually when you called. I was at home, and we hadn't left for Atlanta yet for Panther 2, and we had just recruited Pete to come run nonfiction for us at Proximity. And Pete had been a great friend to me and Zinzi and Sev, who founded Proximity together in 2018, and we had been discussing working with each other. He'd been pitching us on like the great business opportunity that exists in nonfiction, and the cultural opportunity for it. He had been living and breathing it, and like he mentioned, making that trilogy of films here in Oakland. And it ended up working out for us in 2020 to bring him on. And it was shortly after that that Eric called with this idea, and I was just thinking like wow, what a great opportunity. I was honored to get the call because Steph, means so much to us. I'm a lifelong Warriors fan. And when he kind of laid out how they had been thinking about it, what I heard was like, oh, they've really been working. They found a narrative attack, on how to approach this guy's life. Because a doc on a player that's as prolific as Steph, it could be kind of sprawling. You know what I'm saying? Like it's challenging to think about like, how do we tell this in a feature length doc that can grab people's attention and they can track and they can relate. And then I thought, man, Pete would be great for this, even though this isn't what he's known for. Like he hadn't done the quote unquote celebrity sports doc, but I knew it was something more to it that'll make it like a piece that he could relate to, and so I spoke with Pete, pitched him on it, and he was kind of like, man, let me think about this, and he was like, y'all want to do it, and then we went back to EP and Unanimous and Steph and kind of we don't want to like load the deck with Pete because he's a part of the company. You know what I'm saying? We kind of had to pitch him as a filmmaker to them and see if there would be interest there. And thankfully they really were excited. And that was kind of how we came to it, man. But it's one of those projects that's kind of a dream come true. We worked well together. Steph really got along with Pete, and he was able to get incredible access. Tiffany was navigating, the life of this guy who's not only doing so many things but actually succeeding at them. You know what I'm saying? Like succeeding at being in business with his wife and supporting her, succeeding at raising his kids, succeeding at taking the Warriors to a championship, succeeding at breaking a 3-point record, succeeding at going to college at the same time. So all of these things he was navigating, and we were able to get in. And with the shrewdness of Pete as a filmmaker, he knew, when what places he needed to be, and when to give stuff a space. So it really was a dream come true.
Yeah. We also, just to tag on to that, I recognized immediately, anybody's seen any of my films know that like crazy shit happens, like the unexpected, and that's the magic of documentary. And I recognized immediately that there's a couple of really intriguing possibilities. One, he was trying to fulfill this promise he made to his mother, to fulfill, get his college degree. He had tried to do it in the past unsuccessfully. He's and Tiffany knows how busy this guy is. And that the uncertainty of that was very intriguing. On top of the fact that, I think I might have said it in the first meeting, this isn't just a film about Steph Curry. It's a film about family. It's a film about community. It's going to be a film about Davidson. But there was this other potential storyline that was hidden, which was he's still a working NBA basketball player in his prime. What are the Warriors going to do that particular season? So we knew we were going to track that season. There could have been two completely different films depending on the outcome of that season, and that was an exciting possibility for me as a nonfiction storyteller.
Hello, everyone. My name is Philippe Patterson of Taji Magazine here in DC. My question is for Ryan and Pete mostly, but Eric and Tiffany, you're more than welcome to join in. The documentary features interviews with key figures in Steph Curry's life. How did these personal insights contribute to shaping the narrative and offering a comprehensive view of his experiences?
That was actually one of the more challenging aspects of the film. Who would we interview? Who would speak to Stefan's story? I always, in terms of crafting a narrative, like to try to keep it organic. Like the people who speak in the movie need to have some connection and relationship to the story of the journey of Stefan. So we tried to make all of our choices based upon that. We knew we were going to center this around his family, the core nucleus of his family. I knew right off the bat, when I first met Steph, his sense of nostalgia for his time at Davidson was so strong. His sense of loyalty to the people, and this was the piece that I had never, this is the story that I had never seen before. His origin story, basically, and one of the first things I recognized, sort of going back to the original question, like what was one of the more surprising things that I learned about Steph was his loyalty and his connection to the people who began that journey with him, all the way to Jay Rich, who you saw, on the team in 08, who is still in his life today. And so we knew we wanted to make all of our decisions. And we interviewed a lot of people who just didn't make the cut into the film, partly because the Warriors won the championship in the end. But there's no endless parade of people that we could have lined up to speak to, the impact that Steph had on them and had on the NBA. But we wanted to keep a tightly crafted narrative as organic to that 2008 Davidson story as we could, and that kind of drove our decision-making process.
That's so much like in Pete and his crew's zone, and I think like what's great with Unanimous, they know Steph, they're around him all the time, so they can make suggestions about folks. But Pete has such great ideas, man. I remember when he first kind of told me he's gonna have people read Steph's draft profile to the camera. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that's crazy. And in the film starts with Reggie reading it. You know what I'm saying? Like which is like, the guy who was the 3-point guy whose record Steph broke along the way to getting the Ray Allen's again. And it's so interesting, like such an interesting way to start it and I have a way in. And I also think that like Pete's a cinema, he's from the Cinema Verite school, and I always thought it would be like a good mix conceptually to have him do, what is kind of like a reflective piece. It definitely was a reflective piece when it was pitched, because we didn't know the Dubs was going to win a chip. You know what I'm saying? And who you hear from, and like when the interviews come, it's very sparse in the movie. You know what I mean? Like the movie's kind of happening in front of your eyes in that Verite style. When you hear, these interviews, or you get these shots of Jay Rich reflecting on missing that shot. You know what I'm saying? Like it has great, just great level of impact. The journalist who covered Davidson at the time, who covered that run. You know what I'm saying? Who you could tell was like a lifelong fan of this team. I think it was just like really shrewd selections. You know what I mean? And I highlighted the editing process.
And there's tough choices too, and Unanimous trusted us, because there were a lot of people that we interviewed that didn't make the cut. Reggie made the cut because he was there at that moment when Steph broke the 3-point record. It made sense to hear from Reggie. He himself was connected to that idea someone who transcended maybe expectations. And so that's what we really felt was special about the film, because there are a lot of people who we could have, put in front of the camera. But that I think the trend in documentaries of accomplished athletes who achieve great things, to just sort of lay out an argument based on people saying that this person is great wasn't enough for the story that we were trying to tell.
Hey, Harrison Martin with Flix Frog. And my question is, I'm gonna start with Ryan, but it's really open to everybody. From one football player to another, I know you played football in college, and so did I. I grew up in Charlotte, so Stephen Curry's story is like nothing new to me. Even while watching the documentaries, like I remember watching that game. I remember witnessing his rise to fame, so to speak, because with any athlete coming out of Charlotte, we keep track of our own. And I never knew the guy personally, but friends of friends, they're like, oh man, Steph's doing something big. I'm Davis, he's getting better. So my question to you and to everybody else, like, did you know of Stephen like before he made it to the NBA? Did you watch his games when he was in college? You're like, oh, that cat might be somebody. Or was it like once he made it to the NBA draft into Golden State, did you come aware of him?
Man, that's such a great question. I'll answer it quickly. I was not aware, bro. Like where I was out of my life at the time, I was in LA in film school, just like kind of trying to survive. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to navigate that. And I went to film school after I got done playing football, and I kind of like left it. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't injured or anything. Like I could have kept playing, got an agent, pursued it. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of like while I was down at SC, I was only watching like Warriors games. That was it. I wasn't watching the Raiders. I wasn't watching the Niners. I wasn't watching the NFL at all. No college basketball. It was really just the Dubs. So like my knowing anything about Steph was through that lens. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember when we drafted him, and then once he was on the team, we was kind of watching and hoping he could stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like and then Monte got traded. And it was real complicated, you know what I mean? But it was clear for us, like if he could figure out a way to stay healthy, you know what I'm saying? Like he was going to be great, but it was a massive if, you know what I mean? Like as a Warrior fan, I watched the last 5-10 minutes of our movie like this, you know what I'm saying? Like watching him roll his ankles on those plays, you know what I'm saying? Thinking about like how it could have went, But yeah, like so this whole Davidson run, man, like it was like I was watching this brand new, not knowing what was gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was, man, it seems like I do remember it, but I've seen so much footage. So it's like I kind of think I was there, but I don't know. So I don't know how to answer the question. I wish I did. I've seen it so many times because we've been living with this film for over 2 years. So it's like I don't know how to answer the question. So I'm gonna just say yes. I remember. It was amazing. It was amazing. It was an amazing time. Remember every moment.
Like vaguely, like I don't remember Steph per se. Maybe kind of like I remember 2 runs. I remember like the Butler Cinderella team and the Davidson Cinderella team, but I don't remember. And for some reason, Gordon Hayward is more in my memory. Whereas with Davidson, it wasn't Steph Curry so much as it was Davidson. But this tiny school that nobody, had ever heard of. I don't even know which one came first. Which one came first? Was it Butler or Davidson? So you can't remember. It's like a general sort of like recognition that these things happen, and we hear about the Cinderella runs in the NCAA tournament, but we never get that sort of deep dive. And that's what really got me excited when the project first came, when we realized this wasn't going to be like, oh, here's Steph Curry today trying to win another championship. No, this was going back into this moment in 2008 that was, so incredibly special, even more so for this tiny school, which really took a lot of pride in themselves as a school, like not just athletically, but academically. They felt that they were just as talented and as a Harvard, and I remember feeling the same thing. I went to Howard, so I remember telling people, where'd you go to college? Howard, Harvard? Howard.
Yeah,
I think that's changed now a little bit, but
but no, like it's like that connection between that connection between him having to graduate just so he can get his jersey retired. You know what I'm saying? Like it tells you like how important academics is to this place, because like who wouldn't want to like take recruits to the gym and say, yeah, there's Steph Curry's jersey. Like it wasn't up because he hadn't finished yet. Like for me, I was like, yo, these people are crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like if there was any like exception to make, you know what I'm saying? But no, it was like, no, you get your papers all right, now it can go up. You know, it spoke to so much, you know what I'm saying? Almost like this interconnectivity between Coach McKillop and his mom in a way. You know, like you watch the movie, you realize, oh, it was important for like so many levels that he completed this. You know what I'm saying?
Like Ryan, I was not watching college basketball then, but I found out about Stephen after I was actually working for the Warriors when he was drafted. So that was when we first met.
Hi, Jill Monroe, RSVP, KBLA Talk 1580. My question is for Tiffany and Pete. We've mentioned how family is important to this documentary. So the women in Steph's life also play a major role, especially his mother, as far as education and professionally with his skills as well. How did you balance how that part of the story would be included and what portion of it would be sort of left for, future reflection?
Well, we knew a couple of things I knew in general. I don't think I fully understood and appreciated the importance of family in Steph's life until after I got to know him a little bit better. Then especially after I got to know like Grandma Candy and his cousins, Mercedes and Lexus and his mom. And as soon as I spent significant time with Sonia, I understood. I was like, oh, okay, like this, I kind of get where a lot of this is coming from, and it was challenging. And Tiffany can speak to it, that we did, it was a push and pull between sort of telling Steph's journey in particular and sort of the journey of his family. Those are two sort of different stories, and there is a whole nother story sort of to be told about the impact that Aisha had on Steph and Aisha's role in his life. And that speaks back to sort of the choices that you do have to make, as a storyteller, where the focus is. But it was not a coincidence that, his thesis, the work that he was trying to do to fulfill that promise to his mother, was around sort of women's equity in sports. So we just, we tried to, get as much access as we could to paint enough of a picture so that you could understand, the role that these women played in his life.
Yeah, I think that, anybody who's spent any amount of time watching Stephen can see, the role that his mom and Aisha and all the women in his life play. I was very happy to see Grandma Candy's cameo, because she's such a great person, a character, and see everybody seeing how funny she is, and, how that kind of runs through, Sonia and Stephen. But I think a lot of people may not, kind of realize that Stephen and Aisha actually didn't start dating until after this run. So I think I saw, some, people mentioning that, they didn't see her much in it, except for the current pieces. But she wasn't. They weren't together back then. But you can definitely see her influence in the moments that they have. When he's in the car on the way to the game, and their little kind of rituals that they have when they're talking, but when pregame and everything like that. But I love the way that Pete, we're able to, include those moments and really see how much, everything that Steph does, kind of his family is a part of in his life.
Hi, my name is Ruben Peralta from CostaRicas.net. I've been watching basketball all my life, and even that I hated Stephen Curry for many, many, many games, because I'm a LeBron fan, and it still struck me why using the name Underrated to tell this beautiful story about a coming of age story like Stephen Curry. Why choosing the name Underrated to name these beautiful documentaries?
I mean, I think the name was sort of attached to the project from the beginning. And I actually had to step back from that for a minute and sort of ask myself, I think at one point I was preparing like an argument for like Tiffany and EP and Stephen to maybe change the name. because I thought that people might like react to that negatively and say, what are you talking about? This guy is not underrated. He's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. But the more we thought about it, that we were telling an origin story, and we were telling a story that nobody really fully understood, that this guy, even with the sort of stock that he came from, the son of Del Curry, who was a superstar at Virginia Tech. His mother, Sonia Curry, was a superstar volleyball player at Virginia Tech. And that's where Steph wanted to go. That was his dream. And they did not offer him a scholarship. He only got offered one Division I scholarship, despite having an incredibly successful high school basketball career and being the son of Del Curry. And that was pretty remarkable to me, that I think a lot of people underestimate the impact that could have on your psyche, and sort of what you need to do to sort of rise above that was at the sort of central argument for that notion of underrated, and I felt would be a nice tension point. And whatever, maybe have a little bit of controversy on the release, let people argue about it, but the film we think speaks for itself and justifies the expression.
About Ryan or Eric and Tiffany?
I think I always like the title, like because I think it's I think you can argue that like Steph and even like in a way LeBron or Jordan or Bill Russell, like anybody you talk to, if you talk to the right person, you know what I'm saying, they're gonna underrate this person's value. You know what I mean? I think like that aspect of it is like, it's like a very active title. You know what I'm saying? It makes you think. Like, it's such a better title than Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that like, the truth of the matter is that he was underrated. You know what I mean? That's the truth. Like, he was a guy who would have made any team that he played on better. And somehow they gave away hundreds of scholarships to people we never heard of. You know what I'm saying? And he only got one to this one place. You know what I mean? And in many ways, he changed the game to the point that you look at players differently. You look at their abilities differently. I think so in that world, like I love the title, and I love that there's just like this implication of this gap that's between like somebody's perceived value and the value that they see in themselves. You know what I mean? Like I think that gap exists for everybody. If that makes any sense.
I think there was also pieces where, you saw through the film where, during those radio interviews and TV commentary where they kind of, this is an origin story, but they try to kind of end where the Warriors and Stephens and it's like, he had to, him and the team had to prove and, work hard to get to that point, somebody who already had won 3 championships, and to say, their run is over, they're finished. So, yes, he is Stephen Curry, but you continue to see those moments through his career where people, devalue him or underrate him.
Yeah, that's actually so true. We were shocked actually when we started looking at a lot of the footage around the, because certain athletes have risen to their sort of place has already been carved in the stone. If you think about sort of the LeBrons and the Jordans and the Tim Duncans and whatnot, and for people to still sort of doubt Steph. One of my favorite moments in the film was when he blocked that shot, and yeah. it sort of, he literally sort of transcended not only the external expectations, but potentially his own physical limitations, and that was really, special to be able to capture that.
Yeah, I mean, to sort of extend that everything that everybody said here, it's like, it's also really personal to Stephen himself. Like if Stephen, like we've had these conversations with him in the room, like, yo, you're gonna keep calling yourself underrated. And you could see him change and be like, yes, absolutely. Like that's Stephen's chip. You know what I mean? He'll tell you today, he'll tell you tomorrow, he'll tell you every day of the week, and he'll tell you if he wins 6 more championships. Like, you know what I mean? He is underrated, and that is how he lives his life. That is how he thinks, and that's why you see at the end of the film, he back at the gym.
The craziest part about it too, like for y'all as sports fans, you know, like there are like the guys who are like the Minotaur type athlete who you've been hearing about forever, and you've been hearing about how good they are forever, and they are maybe as good or even better than the rumors about them, right? Like I'll hear when I came up, it was Marshawn Lynch, right? You know, but LeBron is kind of the biggest example of that, right? Because when he came of age, the media kind of came, the internet kind of came of age. So you know, you've been hearing about this guy and how good he is forever, but there is like this long history of like these incredible players who because of their size or because of like where they're from or whatever, or you know, like that they were given like a grade of like, yeah, not gonna be that good, and they end up being like the best to ever do it. You know what I mean? Like Messi is like this, right? Like Messi was born with like a form of dwarfism, or Tom Brady is like this, right? You know what I'm saying? Jerry Rice is like this. You know, these people who it's like, yeah, maybe not, and they end up like breaking everything. You know what I'm saying? So I think it kind of speaks to that dynamic of you know, there are these athletes like your Stephs who are like counted out for whatever reason, and they just continue to prove everybody wrong. You know what I mean?
And it's subtle. I'm just going to add on one last point, because this is really important to the work that I've been doing in Oakland. The last film in my trilogy was Homeroom, which was followed the class of 2020 at Oakland High School. And these are kids who are sort of operating on the margins of access to the things that give our communities agency, you know, healthcare, money, you know, the idea of being seen in the context of the criminal justice system. Their grades are, you know, in the trash can for the most part. Their SAT scores are poor. They are not the kids who are gonna, you know, get those, you know, full rides to Harvard and Stanford and Yale. They're not seen as the bright lights of the future. Yet in the wake of losing so much, you know, after COVID, these kids organized and were successful in sort of changing school and city policy as it related to, you know, providing more resources for mental health in their school system. And that ability, we hope that this film can inspire not just athletes, but any young person to realize their full potential, and also remind adults of the power of mentorship, to remind adults that when you truly see somebody and project that and allow that to be received, that you can make a powerful change and a powerful impact on somebody else's life.
I agree. Thank you so much. Also want to add that Stephen Curry has made the press conferences more friendly, because we have seen his family growing on TV. And I don't remember any other player that has shown his family or their family. And we have seen them like growing in our faces, because we have seen all his kids growing on what press conferences and all the finals and playoff games. Thank you so much for this work.
Eric, Pete, Tiffany, and Ryan, thank you for your time today, and thank you for your work on this wonderful story. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black film and TV critics, thank you for watching this edition of AAFCA Roundtables. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Gil. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.